Oh, hello again. With the introduction of the series back on Monday is done, and maybe some of you were confused, thankfully, this episode will clear a lot more up. This is episode 1 of the series, covering the initial deployment phase, turn 0, and the official combat phase, turn 1. Now why turn 0, you might ask? It would be boring if both teams had nothing to move by turn 1. Letting turn 0 be a spin points round was a good idea as both teams got to move units on turn 1, which made things a little more interesting. You'll see this very soon. And speaking of soon, enough brain rot, the intro was a hook. I hope. Now, let's get into this war series. Before we dive into the AI's first moves, a quick briefing. Ashkar will be taking the first turn as a pre-game coin toss went in their favor, winning a best of 11 series 7-4. As for starting forces, every forward operating base begins with a garrison of 2 fighter planes and 2 anti-air emplacements. On top of that, each nation gets 2 free light tanks to place in a city of their choice. We are starting off in the desert lands of Ashkar. General Corey has placed 2 of her free AT-38 Jackal light tanks in the city of Serene at grid G11. For turn 0 production, Corey has ordered Serene to construct 2 AT-40 Vipers medium tanks and 1 AT-47 Phantom tank destroyer. Moving a bit south to the west into the city of Barca, factories there have produced 1 additional AT-40 Viper and 1 AS-3 Scorpion self-propelled gun. Now for the air bases. At Fort Heckmack, grid E10, Corey has commissioned 2 AI-6 Strix Interceptors and 1 AS-2 Coyote scout plane. Over at the northeastern forward operating base, Outpost Scimitar, at I-8, Corey has ordered a single AB-4 Firebrand light bomber and 1 AT-3 Stalker anti-tank emplacement. A strange choice, given that the outpost is almost entirely surrounded by friendly territory. We'll have to see what the general's logic is here. Finally, down south at Camp Zephyr, J11, another Firebrand light bomber and a Coyote scout plane has been produced. Here is the map of what it looks like now with Corey's placements. And this ends Ashkar's turn 0. We will now move on to Galandia for General Mavis's turn 0 placements. General Mavis has placed her 2 free GT3 Lancer light tanks in centrally located city of Westmere at E5. And for her turn 0 production, she has gone all the way on heavy armor. Westmere is producing a staggering 4 GT7 Paladin medium tanks, plus a single GD5 tank destroyer. Mavis is clearly not messing around here. Westward in the city of Foulworth at C5, an interesting choice. 1 GD5 tank destroyer and repair truck. The support vehicle this early is a little unusual. Maybe a gambit, but it could play off in the end. Now for the Galandian Air Force at Camp Sentinel at I-6, a strategic pairing, 1 GI-7 Raptor Interceptor and 1 GB-5 Thunderhawk light bomber. For Kestrel at G6, only produce a single GS-3 Owl scout plane, suggesting Mavis might be stretching her points thin here. And that seems to be the case as Outpost Aurelia at E7 has only produced 1 GI-7 Raptor Interceptor. And here, as shown with Ashkar, here is the placements for Galandia. So, the initial deployments are complete. Galandia has invested heavily in a powerful central armored force, while Ashkar has opted for a more balanced, flexible army. Crucially, neither side knows what the other has built. That's where scout planes and scout tanks will come in. And with that, the stage is set, and we now progress into turn 1. We return to Ashkar for the first movement phase of the war. In the city of Serene, General Corey has ordered the entire contingent to move out and occupy grid square F11, Simultaneously, the forces from Barca are ordered to the same grid square. This combines her desperate units into one large, powerful armored column. However, I see a potential problem with this. This column has no dedicated anti-air protection, and if a clever Galandian scout plane scouts this force, this spot can be very vulnerable to a very decisive airstrike. It's a risk this early in the war, but a commander must consider all the possibilities. Next, a planned reconnaissance mission. The scout plane from Fort Heckmack at E10 is dispatched on a patrol route to the grid E8 and back. On its sweep, it spots one of Galandia's forward operating base, Outpost Aurelia, at E7. The scout takes note of this and identifies the garrison from a distance, 2 anti-air emplacements, 2 starting fighters, and a newly built interceptor. The scout returns safely, and this valuable intelligence is now available to General Corey for her next turn. Their movement phase for turn 1 is complete. We will now turn our attention to Galandia. Interestingly, General Mavis makes no air movements this turn. She had a potential opportunity to combine aircraft from Camp Sentinel and Fort Kestrel to strike Ashkar's lightly defended outpost Scimitar. This could be a blunder, or it could be a cautious doctrine. Mavis may not want to risk her assets without reconnaissance data first. On the ground, however, she is aggressive. The main armored force from Resmir advances 1 grid south to E6, pushing directly towards the center of the map. Meanwhile, the smaller contingent from Falworth also moved south from C5 to C6, forming a solid western flank. Maybe. And with that, here are our positions once again. And with that, the movement phase for turn 1 is concluded. Both sides had made their opening gambits, cautiously advancing their forces. Now with the new board state established, we move into the production phase, where each general will spend their points to build the next wave of reinforcements. Starting back with General Corey of Ashkar. Acting on new intelligence regarding Outpost Aurelia, Corey ordered a direct response. 2 AF-10 Viper fighters and 2 more AI-6 Strix interceptors are commissioned to challenge Galandia's air presence. Outpost Scimitar. She bolsters its defense with an additional anti-air emplacement. A logical move, as an air assault is the only way Galandia can currently threaten that position through the mountains. And back at Serene, Corey adds more AT-40 Vipers and an AT-38 Jackal to her ground forces, but crucially, she also orders 2 AA-2 Sandstorms mobile anti-air tanks. She is clearly preparing her armored column for a potential air attack. Finally, the city of Barca produces 1 more AT-40 Viper and another AD-47 Phantom tank destroyer. Now we turn to Galandia's production. Westmere continues its role in an armored powerhouse, with Mavis ordering 2 more GT-7 Paladins and 1 GT-3 Lancer. The city of Falworth received its first GT-7 Paladin and another GT-5 Hunter tank destroyer. To the north, in the city of Ironvale, at G4 begins production of 2 GT-7 Paladins and 1 GT-3 Lancer, opening up a new vector of attack. In the air, Mavis is looking to beef up her forces at Camp Sentinel and Fort Kestrel. At Sentinel, she produces a GB-5 Thunderhawk bomber and a GF-12 Falcon fighter. Fort Kestrel adds 2 more GI-7 Raptors to its garrison. Her final placement is at the now scouted Outpost Aurelia, a single GS-3 OWL scout plane. It's a late addition, but if Mavis uses it wisely for turn 2, it could provide the critical intelligence she's currently lacking. And that concludes all actions for turn 1. Let's recap the strategic situation. Both nations have significantly expanded their forces, but with a key difference. General Corey, acting on her scout's report, is already building a direct counter to Galandia's air power. Mavis, still operating very much blind, is doubling down on a strategy of overwhelming ground strength. The main Ashkar armor column has also consolidated at F11, while the Galandian vanguard pushes to E6. They are not yet on a collision course. They are several grid squares away, and contested territories still lies between them. The board is set, but the pieces are just beginning to move. The critical question for turn 2 and turn 3 becomes one of intelligence and positioning. Will Mavis finally get her new scout plane in the air to see what's massing on her border? Or will Corey use her head start to seize the most advantageous ground strike before Galandia even knows what's happening? The quiet is about to be broken. What do you think of General's opening moves? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see this daily game of cat and mouse unfold in turns 2 and 3, be sure to like this video and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the front lines.